No, so Graham, like that's another thing. Human beings, we're social animals. So like, I don't want to conflate the idea of or the importance of like building a professional network with this really fucking weird shit that's coming to light that people are shocked by and like, oh my god, that person was doing this thing too. Um, it's human nature, and if you think about a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands, they're going to start spending their time on things like us normal human beings who have to pay bills and exist in society. We have myriad concerns that consume our time. When you solve all those basic things, you never have to worry about them. You start worrying about weird shit. You start caring about weird shit. You start focusing on spending your effort doing a thing that keeps you where you are and prevents other people from getting where they to compete with you, right? Like it's just our nature as animals. What I think is they release this crazy stuff to have people be like, this is too crazy to believe. Um, Actual tangible stuff, it's all still being withheld. Of course it is. Of course it is, Brightside. This is too big of like a thing. They gotta tell us stuff because people, there's more of us than there are of them, right? So we have to get some information, but they're gonna give us information that will like make us reasonably angry, but not destroy everything, right? Think about like aliens, for example, right? What's the sci-fi trope about aliens where there's like real fear? Or I guess it's not even a sci-fi trope. It's like a conspiracy theory that has like kind of become a part of sci-fi. People talk about like Roswell and all that, and they're like, there's a concerted effort by governments, worldwide to suppress information about the existence of alien life, because it's dangerous for society and the way it functions. We might have instability and social collapse and stuff like that. So that's why I think about that. I don't know if you see the correlation there. I'm trying to be vague on purpose. YouTube is fixed. I'm checking, Tony. Hey, there it is. Yep. Was it just being weird and then it just finally went?
Yeah, I like stopped and started really fast the first time, so I thought I'd just stop for like 30 seconds and then start, and that seemed to do it.
I mean, Brightside, I think in that same vein, I think we're close to at least a more formal understanding of the Fermi paradox. For general society's consumption, I think we're getting a lot closer to that. And what I mean is the Fermi paradox is a statistical paradox that shows that the universe is infinitely vast, and statistically we can't be the only life that exists. Why then have we not seen any evidence of life existing on a planet other than Earth? Right? That's the paradox. I think it does exist. I think that, like, think about how slow it's happening. Culture and sci-fi and all that is making people be like, oh yeah, aliens could totally be real. But if you go back, 80 years or more, yeah, because we're approaching like 80 years, because I think Roswell was in the 50s, like 1948 or some shit. You need to have a slow progression towards that, because there were certain ideologies that sort of like ran society. When you talk about organized religion, for example, as a power structure, right? It would be very damaging to have an announcement that undermines a lot of that, because a lot of human societies function based on that. So you have to be very slow about making people accept these ideas without destroying society by saying, hey, some of this shit may not be real. Thousands of years of human history doesn't really matter as much because this piece of information, I don't know, it's crazy. So I think we're getting
theory now that they've started throwing around is that we are located in an area that is really, really far away from stuff comparatively to the rest of the universe, right? And then that might mean why it's like really hard to get to us and for us to get to other people.
At least our local cluster, Tony. Yeah, the Earth exists in one of the arms of the Milky Way, which is a spiral galaxy. So we're in a low density part of the galaxy itself. I'm gonna allow that. That's totally fine.
Can't say rednecks now.
I guess not, dude. Hate speech, maybe. Whatever.
Rednecks are getting offended about being called rednecks. I think they're the first people to call themselves rednecks usually.
Yeah, dude.
With
That's like
pride.
not a
Like, yeah.
pejorative. Anyway, that's weird. I appreciate that, you know, Automod was like, hey, this might be offensive to some people. I get it. Context of things is like, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we are, you know, we probably are space rednecks. Like that's the whole point of dark forest theory, right? Like that's a sci-fi solve for the Fermi paradox that was in Three Body that I've probably told you guys about before. But the idea is that one of the truths of life in the universe is that if you imagine the universe as a forest that is dark and there are hunters in it hunting for prey, you don't light a torch because that alerts other hunters to your location, and it also alerts prey to your location. So you wouldn't go shout, hey, here I am, where's the rest of life? Because the moment you do that, the competing civilizations would just immediately eliminate you. Because over time, with the vastness of the cosmos, you could become a competitor to their society, their civilization, whatever. And you compete for resources, you compete, you know, through conflict and war and violence. That's just the way it works as far as we know life on planet
Here's
Earth.
the actual definition. It posits that the universe is filled with extraterrestrial civilizations that remain silent and hidden to avoid detection and potential destruction by more advanced and hostile civilizations. This theory suggests that much like a dark forest where every creature is afraid of being hunted, civilizations choose to stay quiet to ensure their survival. This serves as a proposed explanation for the Fermi paradox, which questions why we have not yet encountered any sign of alien life despite the vastness of the universe. And the other side of this too is that, like, effectively logically, if you like step forward in technology and our understanding of physics and stuff, there's like certain places where civilizations effectively end up with like running up against like energy needs, basically, where like you would keep increasing your technology to the point where like you would need something like a Dyson sphere around your sun just to like power all of the things that you're trying to power. And we scan the universe and stuff with all of these really advanced telescopes like we have now, and we've never seen any evidence of anything like that either. And that's another like reinforcement of the Fermi paradox, is like, if the universe is as old as we think it is, and if life could have possibly existed for as long as it could have, then you know could be a civilization out there that's been around for millions of years and has reached levels of technology that are far beyond our own, but we've never seen any indication of it. And at a point, the structures get big enough that you could see them from here, is basically what they say.
Yeah, there was
you'd see it like pass in front of the star and create a shadow or something.
There was actually a couple of years ago. So we do this searching for exoplanets, and one of the ways we do it is we observe a star over a period of time and look for changes in the luminance of the star, because stars, you know, output light at a specific rate that you can measure using physics. So they look for changes in that luminosity coming from that star,
like a wobble in the frequency or something, right?
Yeah, and then they can determine the size of an object that is potentially passing between us and the star to be like, there's an exoplanet there.
Yeah, that's how they find, you know, we found this planet that might be like Earth. Whenever you hear that, exactly what Vince just said, it passed in front of a star, and they did some way to measure it to figure out, you know, what kind of, they can even tell kind of what kind of atmosphere it has and like what it's made up of, and like how far it is from its star and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
The first step is determining if something is orbiting a star, because they're really, really far away. And then they are able to use math to try to determine where this thing is and look at it more closely. And the way they do that is with measuring different kinds of light with a spectrometer outside the visible spectrum. So that means our eyes can't see this, but they'll measure like the way X-rays. This is an arbitrary example. This is not specifically how it works, but X-rays will bounce off of something. So certain parts of electromagnetic radiation, which is light and energy that we see, that's how our eyes work, will be absorbed by certain materials. That's what a spectrometer does. So like a hydrogen for a hydrogen atom, for example, will absorb certain parts of light and other parts of light will come back. So we're measuring that to be like, oh, this is hydrogen. That's what a spectrometer does. So that's what they're doing. And they can say, like, we believe the composition of this object is such and such. So given all of this information, a couple of years ago, they believed that there was an inorganic structure potentially orbiting a star. And they don't know what it is. But they're like, these materials don't make sense for what we know about planetary structure and like solar system structure. So it's not conclusive, but they're like, that's weird. We don't know what that is. But there's also, immediately people went, oh, that could be a Dyson sphere. That could be a giant orbital object that was built by a civilization, whatever, right? And yes, bright side, I do know who Betty and Barney Hill are. I really like aliens and ghosts and stuff like that as like a thought experiment and just, using my imagination. I like looking into that stuff. I'm not like, oh man, they're keeping secrets from us. Oh, we got to know. Like, I don't care. I don't care about that. I find it all fascinating. I like stories. I like imagining that things aren't as we expect them to be in existence. So yes, yeah. I'm very familiar.
Queen says mass spectrometers are wild. Use them a few times for physics labs. That's awesome. One of my big web dev clients for the last 6 or 7 years has been like a water testing company that is in Denver, and it's just a guy who bought 2 mass spectrometers, and you can mail him a sample of your tap water and he'll tell you how much poison is in it. And it's usually really disgusting, to be honest with you. But it's kind of funny because I can look at all the things that he does with his machine, and he runs the craziest shit through it. Like, you can tell he just like finds stuff at the grocery store and he's like, let's just put this in the mass spec and see what's in it and stuff. But look at the chemical breakdown of like hand sanitizer and hand soap and stuff, so he can like knock it off. I don't know, it's pretty interesting. Crazy machine. You can break things down into like their constituent elements, basically.
Yeah, I was talking to Turning Cog yesterday actually about glass and how glass used to be a state secret of Bavaria because they determined methods to make ultra clear and uniform glass so they can make lenses. And they would use this for like military optics. And then we're talking like musket times, but they could make like a handheld telescope, that someone could look really far with and get a lot of information from. And other nations didn't have that. The reason I know this is because I watch, Cosmos, and like I really like science and stuff like that. So it just talks about the advent of the mass spectrometer and understanding like the first guy to figure out that certain elements will like eat certain wavelengths of light he built a prism out of Bavarian glass and was able to like have it be clear enough so that he could actually see the visible spectrum split into the rainbow and shit like that. So
are they still dominant in glass? I know there's a few different glass these days that you want, but
German glass is still the best. That's why. So if you guys are familiar with firearms and firearm optics, German glass is still the best.
This is the conversation that I'm familiar with around this topic, because there's like Japanese glass too is really good, right?
Yep, Japanese glass is like kind of second. But yeah, it's all state secret shit. That's why glass comes from specific places. There are nations that don't want to share these secrets, and they know how to make glass really well.
This reminds me of the sand conversation, because like how we're running out of sand. They use sand for semiconductors, which is the biggest thing in the world that we have to make now, and the most important thing. And they use it for glass, and they use it for like half of the components in computers. And we're going to run out of sand, literally. They'll have to go to another planet someday to get it.
Silica, yeah. Let's see.
What's up, Sushi? So you say howdy there?
You ever think he tested his man juice? Everyone's like, yup.
No, again, if I don't want to say names, but if you knew this person, you'd know that it was like, yeah, probably. If it was my old boss from the printing company, it would have been a hard yes.
Turning Cog says time to mine sand from the ocean bed. I think we're already doing that. Certain nations are already doing that, but yeah.
No, we're I don't know if we'll get into sand wars, but like it's getting to a point where like people will start being able to cash in on the fact that they have a lot of sand in their country.
With commercial space travel, we're going to get helium ores first. Helium-3 turns
one that-
into rocket fuel because you can make it turn into hydrogen really easily. So that's how that shit works. So there's a finite amount of helium on Earth, and it's crazy to think that we fill fucking party balloons with helium. Such a waste. It's insane that most of the helium gets used for that. So,
oh, and apparently they use it in semiconductor manufacturing with the sand. So there you go.
Yep. So we have to go to space to get more helium. We just have
can
to
naturally produce helium, but not nearly at the rate that we use it. Like
yes,
millions of times of use over the amount that we can create. Recent sale of the U.S. Federal Helium Reserve has raised further concerns about helium availability impacting various sectors. Why did we sell our helium stockpile?
Money, dude. Why not? Get that money. That's how the world runs now.
The U.S. just sold its helium stockpile. Here's why the medical world is worried because of MRI machines.
Yep. A lot of really
underground stockpile based in Amarillo, Texas, that supplies 30% of the country's helium. Once the deal is finalized, the buyer, which will likely be the highest bidder, the industrial gas company Messer, will claim some 425 miles of pipeline spanning Texas, Kansas, and Oklahoma, plus about 1 billion cubic feet of the only element on Earth cold enough to make an MRI machine work.
Yes, Sushi. The moon, we believe, has a lot of helium on it that we could extract. And the reason that matters is because the moon would become the first, it's already a satellite in orbit. We can get there, establish, a base or whatever. So the reason this matters is because if you think about it, we need to get the fuel to space so that we can move things in space away from the planet. Taking things from the surface and putting them up into space is very, very complicated and very inefficient. So if we already have resources up there, then we could take those resources and then move them. We don't have to solve the problem of getting it up into space.
You need something on the nature of like 100 times the fuel to get something off of the planet's surface that you do to get it off the moon because of gravity. All that.
Yes, Sushi. The moon is made of helium. That's why it's so high up. Yep. It's a big balloon.
It's actually cheese, but
helium cheese, bro. Do you guys know about like hollow moon theory? That shit is really fun to me as well.
I haven't heard hollow moon. I've heard hollow earth.
Okay, so there's a conspiracy theory that the moon is hollow because when the Apollo missions landed, there was an impact that was measured on like seismometers that reverberated as if the whole body, the celestial body, was hollow. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. We don't know anything about the materials.
Point a microphone at it?
Yeah, they had like seismometers and shit, so they could measure, what
a seismometer was like a vibration measurement on the planet.
Exactly. So you would put that, like, they land, they put those instruments down, and then continue to do missions to the moon. Every time something
hit, you're saying there was already one there when they landed.
Okay. Yeah. So what they didn't plant one first. Maybe they did. They could have dropped it, in from a spacecraft that's unmanned. Got it. They're measuring this to get a bunch of data about the moon. And what they thought was weird was they assumed certain things about the density of it. And they came back anomalous. They were like, well, this implies the density is not what we thought it was. So a lot of people go, the moon's hollow. It's a spaceship made by aliens and they live inside of the moon. And that's what I think is really funny.
Nice.
We love Richard Byrd type conspiracies here. Oh, who's Richard Byrd?
Richard Byrd.
It's a stick on some paper? Wait, what's a stick on some paper?
Richard Byrd was an American naval officer and pioneering aviator, polar explorer, and organizer of polar logistics, aircraft flights in which he served as a navigator and expedition leader across the Atlantic Ocean, a segment of the Arctic Ocean, and a segment of the Antarctic Plateau. He is known for discovering Mount Sydney, the largest dormant volcano in Antarctica, claimed to be the first to reach both the North and South Poles by air. However, there's some controversy as to whether he was actually the first person to reach the North Pole. It is generally believed that the distance he claimed to have flown was longer than the possible fuel range of his airplane. Okay, where is the controversy? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Controversy. Since 1962, doubts have been raised, defenses made, and heated controversies arose over whether or not he actually reached the North Pole. See, I thought it was going to be like some alien shit. Is it just because he lied about flying to the North Pole and everybody's checking his data?
I feel like Brightside's memeing because he goes, he was a really renowned traveler. All right, now I got to look him up too.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if this has anything about any other conspiracies in here.
Oh, that's Hollow Earth theory. Okay, so he's the guy that said he flew to the North Pole and there was a giant hole and he flew into it and there was like a different layer of the Earth inside
It
of
doesn't
that.
say anything about that on his Wikipedia. Not a single fucking thing about that on his Wikipedia. That's crazy.
That's because Wikipedia is run by human beings making information.
All right, we got to go to Grokpedia. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see what Grok says.
If it says anything about this on Grokpedia, I'm going to freak out.
Hollow Earth theory is very interesting, but it also is like probably not real because plate tectonics is pretty fucking solid as a measurable, scientific theory. There's a lady who discovered plate tectonics. Hang on, I got to figure out who she is.
Oh my god, it does say it on Grokpedia, guys. Modern conspiracy theories surrounding Richard Byrd primarily revolve around his Antarctic expedition, positing that Byrd encountered a hidden Nazi base, advanced extraterrestrial civilizations, or entrances to the Hollow Earth. There it is. Right on Grokpedia. It doesn't say a fucking word about this on Wikipedia.
I'm trying to see who
I've never opened Grokpedia, to be fair.
Discovered plate tectonics. Okay, they say it was Arthur Holmes in the 1930s. There's a woman who did all of the seafloor mapping. I cannot fucking remember her name. But basically, that's how it came about. She was like, if you look at the seafloor and you look at the, topographical maps of the United States, you see these lines, where like the edges of these surface plates are. And so she came up with this idea. Unfortunately, her concepts like made people laugh at her, and they were like, "What do you know, silly woman? Like, leave this science to the men," which is disappointing. But then it took a man that she worked for to be like, no, she's actually kind of like onto some shit and this might be right. And then they credited the dude with discovering it. So that's, I know that from Cosmos. I don't know how true it is, but it's what I saw in Cosmos. I think plate tectonics makes a lot of sense. It makes more sense than Hollow Earth theory, which is like magic and hand wavy. Wait till you hear about the father of gynecology. What's up, my drong? Also, there's hieroglyphs in the Grand Canyon. Yes, I did know that. That's crazy. That's like super weird. Do you know about this shit, Tony?
What do you mean hieroglyphs?
Like literally like Egyptian hieroglyphics. Yes.
Okay, interesting.
There's a bunch of weird shit, like really weird shit. There's a lot of evidence that the Egyptians potentially went across the sea to North America.
I was gonna say, like, to me, that means like they sent some people out to go explore and they made it all the way over there.
There's a lot of evidence that the Norse also made it to North America. There are many sites with Norse runes carved into stone in North America, in like native, typically like native tribe land and stuff like that. They found all these different things. Yeah, the Norse definitely made it here. There's evidence of like transatlantic trade with the Egyptians as well.
I'm reading that the hieroglyphics in the Grand Canyon might be a myth.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. It could definitely just be like a dude carved that shit and was like, look how old these are. And
I'm reading that, let's see. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article that said there was an Egyptian cave in the Grand Canyon that was an immense cavern complex whose chambers contained mummies, hieroglyphics, and other artifacts of purported Egyptian or Oriental origin. Subsequent reviews by journalists, librarians, park staff, and historians have found no evidence that the expedition occurred and that the named participants ever existed or that any such cave was documented by authorities.
Yeah, you got to remember that.
That would have been interesting.
In the times that people, discovered this shit, you could just make stuff up. You could be like, look at this. And then people are like, oh, that's crazy. There was a lot of, one of the things that I also think is really interesting is there's a lot of evidence for like giants, like giant human beings. And this is like globally. When I say giants, their like average height is like 8 feet tall or something like that, and their bone structure is like super dense and different. And there are some individuals that are up to like 10 feet tall, and they've found burial mounds and like all over the place in the world, which is super crazy. I think the thing here is the field of archaeology is relatively new. We're trying to understand what a lot of this stuff means. And you know, it takes time. So no one wants to make a definitive statement unless they can like absolutely prove something. That's what peer review is all about. That's what scientific study is all about. So, you know, you have a lot of things pointing at certain stuff, but you can't prove it just yet. And you have to have multiple data points to be like, beyond any shadow of doubt, this is a real thing, to state it as a scientific fact. So that's a part of where it goes. The downside is that when people start talking about that, you know, these kind of like wild theories, they don't want to give them any credence because it makes, you know, the layman be like, oh, this is crazy, ancient aliens are real, you know, shit like that. And it's, I don't know, it's not actually science. So like I get why they would push back against that, because like there's no evidence, don't jump to conclusions. Like that's how science works. Look up what happens when people try to get to those areas. Which areas are you talking about? The like the caves in the Grand Canyon and shit, or are you talking about
I didn't see anything about that.
The burial sites for the giants? I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but supposedly like some of the giant skeletons were exhumed from the tombs and are in storage at the Smithsonian. They don't want to like display them. They used to be on display and they're just not anymore. YouTube chat sucks. Jumping back to Twitch. Oh yeah, my bad, dude. I feel attacked. Hollow Earth all the way. So simple sins, but that's in Canada, yeah. Red-haired giants in Arizona, Nevada. Exactly. Simple Sins knows. Randall Carlson enjoyer. Who I don't know who Randall Carlson is, dude. Nice. Thank you for the follow, Evie. I hope the conspiracy theory talk is what got you. The Lovelock Giants. Y-Files did a really good episode on this giant theories. All right. Yeah, almost like there wasn't a global cabal of people running our government. Brightside is fucking crashing out, dude. The Lovelock Cave. Yeah. I think that's what I'm talking about. That sounds really familiar. I wanted to look up Randall. What the fuck? The first Randall, what was it? Carlson.
Bro, it's Horseshoe Cave. It's coming around.
I told you. Cave. I fucking warned you about this shit.
One of the most important classic sites of the Great Basin region, because of the conditions of the cave are conducive to the preservation of organic and inorganic material. The cave was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1984. First major cave in the Great Basin to be excavated. Lovelock Cave people are part of the University of California Archaeological Community's Lovelock Cave Station. What's the conspiracy? Let's scroll down. It's usually at the bottom.
You may not be able to find this on Wiki because they might have like
need to go to information again. Let's see. Oh wait, here we go. Sitka or Sai were a legendary tribe of red-haired cannibalistic giants. Mummified remains of a man 6 feet 6 inches tall were allegedly discovered, according to accounts of guano miners in Lovelock Cave in 1911, but no proof of this mummy's existence has been found. Just the giant interpretation of the skeleton from Lovelock Cave and other dry caves in Nevada was started by entrepreneurs setting up tourist displays that the skeletons themselves were of normal size. About 100 miles north of Lovelock, there are plentiful fossils of mammoths and cave bears, and their large limb bones could easily be thought to be those of giants by an untrained observer. She also discusses the reddish hair, pointing out that hair pigment is not stable after death and that various factors such as temperature and soil can turn ancient, very dark hair into a rusty red color.
Yeah, so the issue here is if you look at the time frame, people are talking about 1911. The average height of a human being of large people was like 5'6", 5'7". It wasn't very tall. So
Vikings tall?
I don't know.
Why do we think of Vikings as like 7 foot tall giant dudes? Like, were they?
I don't think so. I think they were just fierce, scary dudes.
Just like of legend, and everybody kind of started thinking of them that way.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, good for them.
The giants are a whole different thing. Where like, average height is like 7 feet tall. Some individuals were like 10 feet tall. And you're like, how the fuck do you get humans this big? And it's like a population. It's not like, oh, there's one individual that's a giant. They had like burial mounds with many tombs, interred corpses that are massive comparatively to the average human. Smithsonian has tons of evidence they refuse to display because it questions current historical narratives. Yeah, exactly. That's the conspiracy theory I was talking about, Simple Sins, which I guess is not even a conspiracy theory. It's like there's historical records of these things like at the Lovelock Cave that are stored in the Smithsonian that they just don't display. The Vikings
reminded me of like the premise of Prometheus, where they like find some cave drawings that tell them to go to this planet.
Simple Sin says I am average. Hell yeah, dude.
LFQ is defending the Vikings.
Well, that makes sense.
LFQ, do you know who Ragnar Lothbrok is?
It's like that scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. What was the scene at the end?
They go into the warehouse with the crates that are filled with like every conspiracy theory secret that's ever existed.
Yep.
And that's where the Holy Grail is or whatever and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I know this is a little weird, but it kind of makes sense why, like, a big national archive or something like that wouldn't want to have just this one random thing that is like, we don't know what this is, but we're going to display it. They wouldn't want that today because it gets people saying really weird shit and believing in really weird shit. I understand why you wouldn't necessarily want that. Our prevailing culture is not one of critical thinking. It's not one of like, oh, this is neat. I don't know what it is, and I'm okay with that. People want explanations for things. They want to understand why a thing exists, even if they're not capable of understanding it. So I understand why they would do it, but we want to know stuff, Who's the arbiter of what people are capable of understanding? I mean, the people in control make that decision, which is kind of the whole point of what we were talking about, right? Holding it back doesn't make people think really weird shit. No, people still think really weird shit. I think they're just trying not to encourage it. Also consider that, early 1900s, they still had like carnivals and, freak shows and stuff like that, where it was kind of like it was a scam, like think about like New World mermaids, which are, bad taxidermy of like a monkey, sewn to a fish and then preserved, right? Like that, it's weird shit. Or like what a jackalope is, right? Like not real, but it makes people think those things are real, and then they go look for them, and I don't know, it's crazy.
And like even back in like the 90s, like to some extent, like we just didn't have the ability to like say for sure about a lot of this stuff. And I just feel like we're at a point now where it's like if a jackalope existed, probably would have seen one by now. Stuff like that.
Yo, I get it too, Brightside. I've watched a lot of Ancient Aliens, but I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to start with, hey, this is a really weird circumstance, and then you jump like 10 miles away to a conclusion that aliens exist and have always existed and influenced the advancement of humankind. Like, I think that's funny. It's an interesting thought exercise. It's like dark forest theory, right? Oh shit, Brightside's got Nephilim in his game. Let's go. No, you're good, Simple Sins. I know what you're talking about. So for those of you who don't, Zoroastrianism, which is one of the earliest religions out of the Middle East, Tigris and Euphrates River Valley, where like Babylon existed and all that shit. There's archaeological evidence for this, but they worshipped a race of giants called the Anunnaki, and that was like a core part of Zoroastrianism. So the gods, I want to say it's like Tiamat and Marduk and stuff like that. If you've ever heard those things in like video games, they come from Zoroastrianism. But they're like giant dudes with beards and wings and shit. One of the ancient aliens theories is that the Anunnaki created human beings to be a subservient race that like harvested rare earth minerals to give to them so they could repair their spaceship or some shit, or like they're from Mars and that they needed gold to restore the atmosphere of Mars. Just, I don't fucking know, man. It's all over the place. You can get really wild with all these ideas. I don't know. I guess it's like if there's not a legitimacy to a claim, why would a museum be obliged to display it? It does look kind of bad on them if they're showing stuff that is, citation needed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Queen Anne. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because the scientific method is the most important part of science. It's, you make a hypothesis, you declare variables, you test them in a controlled environment, and then you draw conclusions based on results. Like that's the scientific method. There can be many flaws to it, but that's why peer review exists. I'm not going to be one of these people out here that's like academia has ruined science and all this and that. Like, yes, there is a prevailing.
There's some evidence that it maybe has, but
yeah, that's not new either.
The fact that you have to pay money for like papers and stuff is insane, and the people who wrote them don't get any of the money.
Yep,
wild.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We do have a strange culture of academia in science right now. But yeah, the scientific method is the most important thing, and we can all practice it. That's the beauty of the scientific method. It's so simple that we can just practice the scientific method every day as human beings. So it's good for you guys. You should learn it, practice it.
It's just like
critical thinking
for like thinking about things in a more
structured way.
Yeah, or like I was gonna go with like concrete. Like you can reach a point where you're like, I can definitively say one way or another about something instead of just speculating, and that's why it's important.
Yeah. Simple Sins. I think what's the name of the fucking Rift Valley on Mars? Largest canyon on Mars. Is it Valles Marineris? Yes, it is. I'm a genius. So one of the things.
Marinara sauce.
What's that?
Why do they name it after marinara sauce?
It's, I think,
like it's
Greek or Latin.
A little on the nose, guys.
It's just like the ocean valley is, I think, what Valles Marineris means. But yeah. So what I think is really interesting about that is we don't understand geologic action, or there's no geologic explanation for the existence of Valles Marineris, which is really weird. I mean, okay, let's back up a minute. We don't have a lot of instruments on Mars. We're not testing like the surface of Mars in the same way we are doing it on Earth. So we don't understand why this thing would exist. That's it. That's all we can say about it. But of course, that leads to a lot of theories of like, maybe this was some crazy space weapon that like blew up parts of Mars and that's why it's uninhabitable, blah, 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 blah. You can say all kinds of shit because you can't prove it. So, but I think it's really interesting because we don't understand why something like that would be created. It's basically a huge scar on the surface of Mars. Let's see. It's in the Tharsis region, or Tarsus. It's a system of canyons that are 2,500 miles long, 120 miles wide, and 23,000 feet deep. It's the largest canyon that we can observe in the solar system. But to be fair, we can't observe the surface of Venus. We can't observe the surface of Mercury, and we only have those rocky planets. So that's just the way it is. It's like Earth doesn't have one that size because we have a hydrologic cycle that would erode a canyon that deep, right? Remember when they thought you'd fall off the world if you sailed too far? Is that not true anymore? Are you saying salads marineras? No. Valles Marineris. Italy's claim to Mars. The theory that Mars is a moon of a blown up planet is so much fun. I mean, you could. So this is the weird thing. In between Mars and Jupiter is an asteroid belt where there's a lot of like captured, large and small, like varying size, rocky bodies, right? Just moving around in the asteroid belt. And there's a theory, because we can't prove or disprove it, that used to be a planet that got blown to bits and is now just like floating around in that space, and that Mars could be a part of that system, that planetary system. So that's what Simple Sins is talking about. Remember when they thought, yep, shout out to Magellan. Magellan's a lot cooler than just freaking Bieber. What Justin freaking Bieber? Yes. Totally agree. String theory is also largely unprovable, more or less widely accepted, but yeah. And string theory exists because of math, because of the math that shows that there should be upwards of 11 measurable dimensions of reality or something like that. And our senses only perceive 3 solidly, which is length, height, width. We perceive a 3-dimensional world. The 4th being, time, which is space and time. And our brains perceive that in a specific way. So as human beings, we can't really perceive more than 4 dimensions. It's really like 3.5. The half is a fuzzy, hand wavy description of it. But yeah, and math accounts for significantly more dimensions of reality that we don't have the sensory organs to understand. Even our eyeballs aren't that great. Like there are examples in nature of other animals that have way better light sensing organs than we do. It's easier to understand like sense of smell or hearing, right, as a human being than it is to understand like sight, because sight is a very complicated thing, and our eyeballs are very complicated organs. The weird thing for me to think about when I think about how eyeballs work is that light is bouncing off of something, and my sensory organ, the eyeball, is able to perceive different types or different colors in light, right, based on light bouncing off of an object and going into my eye. So that's just a weird thing to think about. I guess it's not that weird. I don't know. I think it's kind of strange. But also like sound being a compression wave in atmosphere, and like you can't, like sound doesn't work otherwise for our sensory organs. Like think about how a microphone works, guys. The compression wave of air passing, like, atmosphere passing through your vocal cords in your lungs. Those compression waves are hitting a diaphragm that is, changing that into an electrical signal and then passing that information electronically to another device that can decode that into sound. And it comes out of another set of diaphragms that vibrate the air. Like that's so weird to me. What are your thoughts on Split Fiction? I don't really have a bunch of thoughts on Split Fiction. It doesn't look like a game that I really care about, to be honest. It's all just waves, man. Yeah, it is. Or, particles. It's one of the two. That's what we understand. Got to go for now. Good chatting today. Yeah, thanks for coming through, Queen Anne. I hope Endless U is going well, and I hope you had very positive publisher pitches and meetings and all that, and I hope you're doing well. I wanted to see. Okay, so Split Fiction. Let's look at that, and we can pivot over to video game stuff. Since we're talking about Split Fiction, got a couple things that were interesting, I think, to discuss this week. The marathon advertising run is continuing and going up, so I want to touch on that real quick. We saw this marketing tweet that came from Marathon about different runner shells and the cores that you can get, and it has me highly skeptical of how that is going to work in the game. I was telling Tony you can get like a core mod, which fundamentally changes how your runner shell works, but you have to put that into your loadout, and you risk that every time you do a run. And those mods. I mean, this could be changed. This is based on my last gameplay experiences, but those core mods, when you defeat an opposing player, you can loot those core mods. So it has me going, how easy is it to get this game-changing core mod? So if I die, can I get it again? And is it so powerful that I have an advantage that makes it highly unlikely that I'm going to die? How do I play around it? Yeah, it seems weird to me that you could take this thing in that is rare, fundamentally changes your gameplay, and then you make a mistake and die and lose it. And I'm like, what does that loop look like? My biggest concern with Marathon was the balance between, player power expression and the ability to run a kit more and more. These mods sound to me a lot like Destiny type stuff, which are massively game changing. And I just don't know, because you could get real lucky and be on a run and have like a Rook shell, and Rook has like nothing on him, but you could loot all this stuff off of a player, and then you have a good run. And I don't know. It seems challenging to me. Think that will lock those types of things. The way I saw it last, Simple Sins, was there's not like a level to your runner shell. It was your reputation with the corporations that gave you progression. So they're permanent in that regard and depend on like what missions did you complete, what materials did you get to unlock permanent updates and stuff like that. So if you could say buy a gameplay changing or gameplay style core mod, and you like complete the quest to get it, and you have the resources to buy it, and you get some, and there's like a cooldown on them, and you apply these things to your runner shell. If it's repeatable, that feels good. I just don't know what the frequency of being able to run something like that would feel like. And my biggest problem was the imbalance between different things the player could get. So the best example I could give is that, I started with a pistol and I made good choices, and I jumped another player, had the advantage on them, emptied a mag into them, went behind cover to reload. They're now aware of my presence. They're shooting back at me. I get back into the engagement, and they just smoke me because their gun is way better. So this is why I'm concerned about balance. If there's a game-changing player mod that changes how your character works in like a really crazy way, how often can you run that? And is it worth running it just to do one really solid loot run? I don't know. It's something that you'll have to figure out by playing the game. And that is a worry to me. To be fair, you could argue the same shit about Tarkov when you're talking about like ammo, because I think ammo is one of the biggest game changers in Tarkov, other than armor. And armor and ammo are the thing that they like try to limit and keep players kind of in a middle ground. If you're playing PvE, it breaks because it's really easy to get, absurd kill death ratios and get out with a lot of really good loot. But if you're playing PvP, you're running that risk of using a high tier item just to have a more successful run. So I don't know how that's going to express itself in Marathon. I'm worried. I'm concerned, I should say. So we'll see eventually. Like the trader rep level in Tarkov. Yeah, it's somewhat similar. I think the UI UX is better in Marathon than Tarkov, but that's not saying a whole hell of a lot because the UI UX in Tarkov is generally bad. PvE mode would be cool. I doubt that they would do that. But who knows? They could do that. The reason I doubt it is because I've worked with these guys before. I know the type of player experience that they index off of for competitive play. And in the last playtest that I, participated in, the game felt very heavily indexed around a 3v3 organized squad in team play. And if you've played Tarkov or even Arc Raiders, cooperation is a fun aside. It's not the main thing. You can still be successful on your own. So when I think about Marathon, I think it's cooperation in a pre-made group. I felt a massive disparity between being a solo player and playing with randoms, and then playing with an organized squad. There's the organized squad has a much better chance for success depending on the skill level and level of knowledge of your teammates. Obviously, you're going to get a random mix if you run with randos. You might get a brand new player, and you might get some very seasoned players who just carry you with really good kits. You don't know. If you're playing solo, you're almost guaranteed to have the most challenging or frustrating experience. But that could have changed. I don't know if it's different now. Valid concern. Balancing is a struggle because cool ideas doesn't mean good balance. Yes. And again, like I was saying, the concern is that I know these guys and I know what what type of gameplay they want to encourage. And I've seen these same expressions in Marathon where like you need a super sweaty, very high FPS skill group of teammates that fully understand all the maps. They fully understand all the challenges on the maps, like the different things you can interact with in, tricky situations you might get into in combat as you're exploring a map while you're trying to accomplish different tasks. You're much better off with competent teammates, way better off. And I mean, that's true in Tarkov, but in Tarkov, you can rat and just avoid all conflict altogether. In Marathon, the maps are pretty tightly packed and there's a lot of players. Also, the AI is very dangerous. And if you don't have a good kit to even just deal with AI, so like this is kind of an example I could say. You're running solo, you get some good stuff, you have a difficult PvE objective to accomplish, you go in by yourself, you have the right kit to deal with these things, but then you run into a squad of players that completely ruins your plan and you're fucked and you lose that whole kit. And you're like, man, I spent the last couple of hours or a day building up this kit so I could do this mission. Now I have to start from square one and I have like nothing that can help me get this mission accomplished. I need to team up with some people. That's what I mean. In Tarkov, you don't ever really need to team up with anyone. You can do the whole game by yourself, which I think is very interesting. And that's my concern with Marathon. If they're incentivizing this team play over everything else, it's a brand new IP. It's a very big risk for Bungie as a studio. And if they're making it so that solo players aren't going to bring their friends in because they're frustrated playing solo and they're like, they can't understand that you need a team to do really well, I think it's going to be damaging to the player base or prospective player base. So especially at a premium cost, if I'm like, man, I spent money on this and I'm trying to get my friends to come play with me because I want to be able to accomplish things that I'm having a very tough time doing solo. I think you guys kind of follow my line of thought here. I don't know. I'm worried. It seems like it may not be good. I think they need to encourage solo play a little more. And there's many different ways to do that. I'm not necessarily going to say how, because there's a ton of different ways you can do it. I just know that they're balancing around coordinated high skill team play for success in that game. Another example I can give, if you're playing solo and you get downed, it's over. You're done. Your whole run is done. If you're playing in a team and you get downed, your living teammates might be able to win the encounter and get you back in, and then your run isn't scuttled. So just playing with one other person gives you that option. If you're playing solo, you just don't have it. So in my mind, I would say get rid of the downed revival mechanic entirely and just make it, you die, you're dead. And I think that's why it works in Tarkov. Because like everyone's on an even field there. The solo player has a distinct disadvantage if they can't be revived by a teammate, right? I hate games that force you to try and have friends. Yeah, I think that's the tricky part. We ran into this problem on Destiny because people would, designers would be like, we need to build a thing that's requires a bunch of teamwork and coordination. But that was at odds with, well, how do we bring a solo player in here to have the same experience? Destiny's not a competitive game. You're not defeating other players to take their shit and get out. And that's the whole loop of success and having a good time. Marathon is a competitive game in that you're competing with other players for resources and to achieve success. So if you have the same paradigm of you need friends, you need coordination, you need communication, it's eschewing the new player experience. And I think a new player experience is fundamental, especially with a brand new IP. Getting new players in is, They might need a new player playlist, right? You never interact with seasoned players. Tarkov even does that. Like the ground zero map after level 20 something is high level and they let other players filter into it. But before that, you're separated in your queues and you're just going to play like solo until you get your feet wet and learn the game. And, by the 20s, you're going to understand like how the basic loop for the game works. Marathon doesn't have anything like that. So at least last time I played, it didn't. So I hope they make that change and it's more welcoming to new players, because I think the success of the entire game depends on that. Okay, that's enough Marathon. Some fun and interesting stuff. Let's see. Tony, you posted Sony patents AI-generated podcasts voiced by characters from its games. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say the same thing I said to you yesterday, which is like, if it was like 2005 and Sony said that they were making a podcast that was voiced by Kratos or Ratchet and Clank or something, like, people would probably be kind of into it because it would mean that like a creative team of people who were like actually made the game had like taken the time to like create a thing. They wrote a script, they recorded it, whatever. It had a story to it. This isn't that at all. This is just like, hey, have the slot machine shit out something that the gamers are going to like, that they're not actually going to. The business people just think that they will. And I don't know, it feels pretty gross. It just kind of feels like something nobody wants and nobody will probably pay much attention to. It's just going to be like thrown out into the void for other AI to scrape and consume probably.
What's up, Mocap? We are already VTubers. I don't know if you know this. This is not what we actually look like. We're deep.
I've been playing around with some real-time, like computer vision, face tracking type stuff that I got some ideas about. I don't think we'll be like Burnt Peanut or anything like that, but just I can think of some fun stuff that I could do if I had like 3D tracking on our heads and hands and stuff. So
yeah, we did a thing like that like a year and a half ago. Tony built a thing where I had an iPhone and it was like scanning my face, and it was like,
it was actually cool because we tail scaled his iPhone from his house to my house, into my Unreal Engine over the internet. He lives like 45 minutes away from me, and he was able to control the metahuman on my computer in real time.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like a Power Rangers movie with Elizabeth Banks, fucking Zordon type shit. So yeah, it was cool. I liked it. LFQ's waving at mocap. Hell yeah. Acknowledge me, senpai. I sent you hand wave emotes. Oh, there you go. Hey, LFQ. Nice. Sorry, Turning Cock said like the Destiny faction NPCs. It's a lot more robust than that. I like the Corp faction stuff in Marathon. I think it's cool. I think it's a good system. It's nothing new. It's not super special. I mean, Tarkov NPCs do the same thing. It's just a better UX for it. I think it's a good progression method rather than having it be tied to a runner shell, because you want to do different runner shells for different kinds of objectives. If you're playing solo, you're probably going to be better off playing like assassin, because then you can just go invisible and like disengage at will. But that kind of doesn't feel great. Like, why would you want to solo run as destroyer, right? Like, I like it. The mobility is pretty cool. I had some fun solo running as destroyer, but the most success was with solo running as assassin. And I think solo running the other shells, you're going to find, different issues, because some of the shells are really, really, really good in a team comp. Like Blackbird, for example, which has been changed to Recon, I think. But you get a ton of intel. It's like a Bloodhound from Apex, or the healer, right? Why would you solo healer? It gets advantages to reviving teammates and shit like that. It doesn't make any sense to solo run it. What's that?
You self heal?
I don't know. Healer shell was relatively new. I didn't play it at all. So one of the weird things is I had to unlock the healer shell by doing a bunch of shit, and then when I unlocked it, like, I could then play it, but I didn't want to play it because I was playing solo. So I played like Rook most of the time, which I think Rook is a great thing to put into the game, because it lets you, low stakes or no stakes, explore maps. You just can't complete objectives when you're playing as Rook. So it's kind of like the
Oh,
scav.
really? Okay. Because I was just gonna say my only thing with Rook is that I feel like they didn't think through the way that Tarkov does PMC versus Scav, which is that like Scav is free, but you cannot progress on Scav no matter what you do.
Yep.
And I think that's really good design because
Yes.
people would literally only Scav if you could progress on Scav. They would never play their PMC. And yep.
So Rook was a really good step in the right
Yep.
direction. The one thing I don't like about Rook is you can't co-op. You can't be like, hey man, I'm gonna take my 3-man squad of Rooks, which would be better.
Really?
It would just be better. Yeah, you can't do it. If you play Rook, you only solo queue and you only late spawn. So it's like it's exactly like a scav. So you'll get into a match
You
already.
can group Scav though. That's weird.
Yep.
Huh?
Yep. I don't know why they don't allow it. And it's crazy. One of the other weird things was last time I played, VoIP was default off and nested in a bunch of menus so that you didn't really know how to turn it on. And it's super important. It should be default on and players opt out of it. Like that's a crazy fucking way to think about it. So this is where I go like, Bungie has all the tools. They're right in front of them. There's plenty of examples, but they stick to weird things like balancing around a pre-built squad that is very familiar with the game. That's going to create a huge disparity in the player base very early on. They do other weird stuff like making VoIP opt in, not default on, opt out. Rook you can't squad with. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, guys, just let players do this. It's going to be okay. You're going to have more people playing. It'll be better. I only scavved when they didn't have PvE. Yeah, I did a lot of that too, Simple Sins. I definitely, like, my first year of playing Tarkov, I scavved more than anything else because I had to learn the maps. And once I was really comfortable with a map, then I'd be like looking up a task on the wiki and be like, okay, here's how I complete it on PMC. And then I would very slowly and carefully try to complete tasks on PMC. Wouldn't do any looting, wouldn't do any I would avoid conflict and just accomplish my task and then get out. And then on Scav, I would get into the mix and like learn the map more and, run around and take more risk. So the point is, Rook doesn't really work that way. It kind of does, but like the Rook kit is very bad. It's really bad. Granted, a lot of this could have changed. So I'm going off of my last playtest experience. Even though I'm saying negative things, I was still at like a 5. I want to try it. I want to see what they've changed and what version of the game actually ships. So I'm going to try it. There's a free weekend before it comes out. Again, it comes out March 5th. That weekend before March 5th, so it'll be end of the month here. It's the 28th and the 1st. Should be an open beta test or whatever, free to play weekend to get people to try Marathon. So if you want to try it yourself, it'll be that weekend. Schedule your time off or whatever you got to do to check it out and see if it's for you, if you're interested at all. I think Marathon's a very interesting looking game. It's pretty compelling. So I'm definitely going to play it for free, check it out, see what I think. I don't know if I'm going to buy it. It all depends on, my opinion about how the game has changed since the last time I played.
I've come to terms with the fact that I'll probably at least buy it for under 2 hours and, see how it is. But
well, let's play free weekend.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Because then you won't even have to spend money.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just kind of do fall back on the fact I'm like, if I really hate it when it comes out, just refund it, whatever.
Yeah. Do you think the practice mode in Tarkov is something that should have by default in extraction games? Yes, absolutely. I also think extraction games being designed in a more casual way is a complete failure to understand what an extraction game is. They need to be very deep. They need to be really hardcore. They need to have these, esoteric systems that you've got to learn first. The complexity is what makes it really fun, because even when you fail on a run, you've gained some kind of knowledge. You've gained the experience, like as a human being, that will make you have better chances the next time you go. So
it's not too different from like a roguelike or something. It's like, you just go until you die and you learn something from that, and then you do it again. Try not to die next time.
Simple Sins, you'll squad for what? The free weekend? Because bet, dude, we should get some games in for sure. And I've played a bunch, so I do understand some of the maps. I only played two, played Dire Marsh and Perimeter. Perimeter, I understand pretty well. It's a really small map. So this is part of what I'm concerned with. It's a really small map. It's kind of like their ground zero. There's a lot of players. And when I say it's like their ground zero, it felt smaller. It felt like 60% the size of ground zero.
And
that worries me. What's that, Tony?
Half the density.
Yeah. Yeah, the density is way less.
3-layer buildings with tunnels underneath that all connect together, and like no, none of that. It's just like some buildings out in a field like Apex Legends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tony's totally right. Yeah. It does have an Apex Legends feel to the map design where there's like pockets of stuff and lots of space in between.
Like Tarkov level design is up there with like Dark Souls, just in terms of like how well thought out it is and how everything is connected and like it has a lot of meaning and stuff. And I did not get that from Marathon when I saw it. Like it looks really good. It's pretty visually compelling, blah, blah, blah. But just the level design absolutely is not there. It's a little too basic.
I think you make a really interesting point too. In Tarkov, there are a lot of different weird little pieces of the environment you can use as cover. You can hide by like the weirdest shit.
You can shoot through a door crack that is this big and the collision works. Like the railing on a stair, like every single rung is collidable, but you can shoot through the gap. And like, I know that almost has nothing to do with the level design like we're talking about, but it is so intricate in every single little way. And it all matters and it all hooks together. And
no, it does. That's a lot of the level design. And, you know, to your point, like I was saying, there's not a lot of cover in between encounter hotspots. And when I say encounter hotspots, there's like a lab complex. There's a bunch of buildings and there's interior corridors you can like sneak around in and whatnot. The open areas in Marathon are not even remotely as open as any Tarkov map. It's not even close. They're like very long sight lines with not a lot of cover. And
there's no time in Tarkov where you run in a straight line for more than like 2 or 3 seconds because you're gonna have to weave around something or avoid an obstacle. You know, a lot of it is set up where a firefight wouldn't just be you getting completely smoked because you're out in the open. But
right,
yeah,
as long as you're making good choices, yeah. In Marathon, the stuff out in the open is very out in the open. You're not going to be hidden, and there's
and you're going towards a building. Like, somebody's in the building, like
exactly. They'll see you coming a mile away. And that's what a lot of the in between, you know, the liminal encounters that occur in Marathon are like. You see people very far away, and yeah, it's funky. The free weekend is, and I mean, this might change, but so far what they've said is that it's on the 28th and the 1st. It's the weekend before launch. It launches on the 5th. Chain link fence is the bane of my existence. Tarkov, best armor against me. Chain link fence. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they do the thing with the chain link fence where you can shoot through the holes, but if you hit the wire, it just stops your bullet. Like
it depends on your bullet.
It's a sheet metal. Yeah.
It totally depends on your bullet. If you have a high penetration bullet, you'll shoot right through the chain link. If you don't, you don't.
That's interesting. Like in real life, like a 22 might go through a chain link fence.
Yeah.
If you're close enough to it. Yeah.
Sound design was pretty good, Sushi, honestly. It's pretty clean, which I liked. This is really weird, and I know a lot of people who play Tarkov don't agree with this. The sound design in Tarkov is great. It's really good. Yes, there's some weirdness with interior spaces and footsteps with spatial audio.
Directionality, yeah.
But it's some of the best you could possibly imagine.
If you're on the same level as somebody else, it's spot on. Like you can tell right where they are because of how you can hear them. They might be above or below you, and you can't tell that because of how it works. But yeah.
LFQ, I think the idea of a free weekend that close to launch with just open floodgates is partially a tech test, but also a pulse check on the interest in the community.
Yep.
Since it's free, they're going to get a lot of people, even haters, will get in and check it out. Look at Highguard. Highguard had 100,000 concurrent on the first day. If it wasn't free, that wouldn't have happened. So I think the risk is you could get a lot of people playing it and going like, game is dog shit, not going to play it. But I really don't think Marathon's in the same boat. I think Marathon is a compelling game. It's interesting, and letting people play it for free in its most polished state so far is a really good idea, because I think there will be some people who are like, actually, this game is fucking good. I like it. And it's the type of game that I've said before, you have to get your hands on it to see how it feels, to know whether or not you're going to enjoy it. But I will say the shooting mechanics and the movement feel great. They really do. It's classic, like good Bungie, FPS. The problem is the gameplay systems around it and the extraction shooter thing. That's what worries me. Yeah, no worries, Simple Sins. Take it easy. Can't wait for ray traced audio to start becoming a thing without too much performance cost. Dude, that sounds crazy, Sushi.
They have it.
Yeah, but you have to, like, how do you do audio compression without data loss? Like, that's the problem people have to solve. Audio is the biggest chunk of games, as you know.
And I think when they say ray trace audio, it's more like you use ray tracing as your like data for audio processing. So make it sound like it's going through surfaces and coming around corners and stuff just a little more realistically than we have right now. I might be simplifying that a little more than it actually is, but I think that's kind of what that means.
Okay, so another thing that's interesting. So we talked about it last week. The Nintendo's doing like a Virtual Boy run on Switch 2, and alongside that, or a couple of days later, they announced that there's going to be a Virtual Boy physical edition that you can dock your Switch into to make it work like a Virtual Boy, which is interesting. It's the red fucking headset with the little stand that you put your face into. And you put your Switch in there, so it might be cool. I don't know.
Is it this one in the picture? Oh yeah, it must be. Okay. How much does that thing cost?
That's like $100, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's $100 just for the dock or whatever to put your Switch into. So again, alongside that, they've also said what they're going to do is allow the cardboard labo thing to be an alternative. So if you don't want to buy the $100 nostalgic, bait plastic container, you can use the cardboard one, which I think is relatively cheap, isn't it?
I think it's still like $80 for the labo kit. But
let's see. They would either need to purchase, or it's $25.
Okay, good.
Okay, so that's pretty chill. So you could get the same experience for $25 if you. Well, I say same experience. I don't know if it's the same. It might not be.
Well, I mean, the Virtual Boy has no gyroscope or movement or anything. Right. So assuming you could get this fixed, it'd probably be a fairly similar experience. But yeah,
I mean, Turning Cog is kind of making a real point about the headache machine. Virtual Boy definitely gave me headaches when I played it back in the day in the 90s.
I saw something recently about how the Virtual Boy ran at like 14 million FPS or something like that. So that might have something to do with why it gave people headaches.
Yeah, it was kind of too early to release the market.
Like a weird like laser vector display thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It did like
it has a really sick Super Metroid sweater.
Yes. It did like a parallax thing where there was like projection onto multiple layers of stuff. So it wasn't like faked with, I say faked with like math and like how we understand, 3D vector graphics now, because they didn't have the technology back then, especially to put into a headset, right? So it did like a crazy trick of the light type of a thing where you had this like depth of field that you would get in different layers of stuff.
See if I can find this video here. Yeah, these guys put a high-speed camera on it to show what it was doing when it was rendering. It's pretty crazy. It used to say in the title what the actual FPS is, but yeah. Single column of LEDs and mirrors. That's how it was doing everything. This is the entire display right here. And it was just like doing a mirror like this.
I think it's the frame rate that Tony was talking about. You're getting insanely rapid flashes of light directly into your eyeballs. And I think that causes headaches because you're overstimulating the optic nerves. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. It wasn't a comfort thing because you didn't like strap your head in. You just kind of like leaned into the machine.
Yeah, it
You
was
just
sat on
kind
the
of stuck your
table.
face
Yeah.
on it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so here you go. In 2800, 28,500 FPS. That was probably on a TV, and then this is on the Virtual Boy right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Think
that
like
line scanning across that gives you that like persistence of vision.
this is not accurate, but think of it like the grocery store barcode scanner, and you're like staring into those lasers. That's kind of what it was like.
They turn the persistence on so you can see what that's drawing.
So yeah, you're just like turbo blasting your eyeballs to use an old Virtual Boy. It was good for like 20 minutes, and then it like really started to.
I think they even said you're not supposed to play it for more than 15 minutes at a time, right? Yeah.
They warned people. They were like, "Don't play for too much because it can cause headaches." And it's like, bro, why did you release this?
Yeah. So if this is interesting to you guys, there's a slow mo guys video that shows how it works and a lot of other things, but it's pretty cool.
All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Tony linked Fortnite Chapel Roan. All right.
Fortnite Chapel Roan is happening, everybody.
We have some cryptic announcements from Nikita of BSG and BSG about a new IP called Core, COR3, which is set in a couple hundred years in the future on Mars. And it's like people are calling it like sci-fi future Tarkov. We don't even know anything about it. We literally don't know. I think they said it might be an extraction shooter. We know it's a shooter. We don't know what kind. We don't know anything else. They have one video out. So
that's a Tarkov animation.
Yeah. This is it. This is the only video. So if you guys hear any speculation about it, it's way too early. Don't jump to any conclusions. We don't know shit. And we're only going to know when they tell us. So there's a lot of people speculating, a lot of people talking shit. It's very weird. Yeah, people are like, "Oh, you made this, so it's just going to be Tarkov in space." And it's like, you don't fucking know what they're going to do. You literally don't know. Just let them tell you.
Ooh, the giant tower thing is sick. I hadn't actually watched this yet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think the aesthetics are very interesting. Oh, and then you get Spaceman flipping the bird, which is cool.
Kind of reminds me of Armored Core a little bit, just like the scale and all that.
Yeah, don't end it before you get the Spaceman.
Oh no, I won't.
Space elevator extraction. Let's fucking go. Yeah, I mean, we literally don't know. We do not know if it's going to be an extraction shooter. I think they implied it might be, but we don't know if that's what they're going to do. So you got this.
The art was incredible.
Look at that bird to Mars. Yeah, it looks very cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. We'll see what it is. Yeah, core3.gg. And Nikita tweeted something like, "I'm involved in this, but BSG is not." It's weird. And everyone is like, "Well, you said this, man. You're like, you said that. You said this. Now it means this thing." Guys, he doesn't fucking speak English as his first language. He's Russian. It's probably really easy for him to accidentally say something he doesn't mean. And he has since deleted his tweet because I think he was just like, "I don't want to fucking talk about this. This is annoying the shit out of me. I'm just trying to announce something that is cool and keep you guys asking questions." And he's kind of like backing out of the conversation, which I don't blame him for. It would be very annoying to me to have a bunch of people like, "But you use this word in English and it means that one thing." And he's like, we will bleat, like, give him a break, guys. Relax, internet. Okay. So we got core 3, core whatever, GG. Interesting. Tony, you want to talk about 8K TVs? I was reading that this morning before the stream, and I'm not really sure what I think about
there because I've been seeing a lot of people talking about this, and I think it just is mildly relevant to us as game devs in that we don't need to worry about supporting 4x the highest resolution we have to support right now, which is probably okay because 4K is not done right yet, and I think that's kind of why society, this is happening because nobody's buying 8K TVs. Nobody wants them. Nobody cares about them. Nothing supports them. I don't think there's a single streaming service that does 8K. You probably have to get a special Blu-ray player. I don't know if a Blu-ray is even in 8K technically. So there's no content for you to watch on it. Nobody's buying them. There's no point in anybody manufacturing the panels. Then we can stay focused on making 4K run at 500 FPS, and I think that's going to be fine.
Yep.
So, yeah, I just threw that in there because I think that's kind of good news, especially for us as game devs. And if you're Thread Interactive, whoever that fucking asshole is, like, I don't know. This is probably like a positive thing in terms of like that guy being annoying for the future, in that like maybe we'll be able to catch up to 4K and like get it running well and not have to worry about the goalpost moving again.
One of the things, Turning Cog, that kind of like stopped the adoption of 8K is a lot of people were saying you only see a difference in a panel that's 77 inches or bigger.
Also true. Yep.
And the viewing distance. So if you're looking at like a 50, 60 inch or even a 27 inch screen, there's no discernible difference between 4K and 8K because you have to be super close to the panel to even like tell, like 2 inches away.
Yep.
So you got to be like
8K on a 27 inch. Like, I don't know if your eye could see the pixels.
Yeah.
They're so small. And if anything, they're doing something with technology at that point to like make them bigger, because I don't think they can actually be that small. So it's just kind of like downscaling it probably to your monitor a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, so you have the panel problems, the viewing distance problems, the
fact that no content can be made for it. Yeah.
And then on top of that, the price discrepancy is absurd. 8K panels are like insanely expensive compared to a 4K panel.
And I think you're already looking at, somebody in the chat, I feel like would probably know this number better than I would, but I want to say streaming 4K content for 1 hour is like 6 gigs of data or something like that over your provider or whatever. Like, and if you play the 8K as 4x 4K game, then that would mean that you would be streaming like 24 gigs over 1 hour. And if you're Comcast, you go, no, I don't want people doing that.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
Or Comcast is like, we want people doing that because now we can charge you a premium for 8K content.
Or you could go, if you're Netflix and you have a petabyte of data storage already with your 4K content, and then you need to upgrade all of it to 8K content. Now you have to go up by at least 4x. And I'm not sure exactly how it works with Netflix, but I would almost think that maybe they host each resolution separately so they don't have to do any processing and they can just feed you the files as seamlessly as possible. So in which case they might just have to like take their petabyte, double it, add 4 times on top of what they already have. I don't know. It's just like logistically it starts to create a lot of problems.
My understanding of it was it used a CDN, content distribution network, which is a very complicated network thing, but there's basically like always a geolocated server in a major metro area.
Well, with Netflix, yeah, they're like paired with ISPs to have a data center as close to you as possible because they don't want to be feeding it across the entire country because it would eat up like the bandwidth of the internet for society. Basically, they can't do it.
The way that works is they have their data center that has all their content on it, and that gets pushed to different CDNs, and they like do predictive analytics for like what markets are going to want this stuff. It's really good now. I'm talking about my experience from, like 15 years ago now when I worked at an ISP. And, I was talking to the guys that ran the Netflix CDN about like how it worked and stuff. I was trying to get onto that team for a little bit. But then I went and made video games instead. So, the CDN concept isn't necessarily new, but Netflix was the business that pioneered how a CDN would do streamed data. Because typically the way it would work is like, say you're playing World of Warcraft, you need to patch because there's a new thing. When you connect to their servers, you're actually hitting a CDN that pushes a software update to you. So Blizzard doesn't have, all of these. They do have a lot of servers, but they don't have all these like, they don't have as much distribution as a CDN does. CDN is typically owned by an ISP, so it's a very, very large telecom entity, and they have all the resources to make that shit work for like multicast and stuff.
There's some Linus Tech Tips videos where when they host a really big LAN party at their business, they actually will build their own Steam cache on their server where they'll have a list of games that they're planning on playing with like 1,000 people at this event. And they can effectively on their router that all of their network traffic comes through, they can set it to like, if you're going to download something from Steam, actually go to this box that has the files on it and download them from there instead of from Steam, so that the internet doesn't go down when 1,000 people try to do it. And I guess it works really well.
Hell yeah. Turning Cog, I like that you watch us 2 inches from your monitor. I mean, maybe you're the 8K monitor guy, dude. You should get one.
Maybe you need glasses.
Actually true. Yeah, you might need glasses. They are IRL async loading. Yeah, CDNs are really complicated.
Yeah, like it downloads it once if somebody asks for it, but then it just saves it. So if somebody asks for it again, it already has it. Yeah.
And there's predictive software that will be like, we know these usage patterns. We know how we're promoting these certain things. So they'll like front load, certain CDN caches with streams that are going to be popular. But sometimes like the market will overload it. And Netflix has gotten really good at it now. They're a huge business, so they kind of cover everything. I don't know if you guys ever remember back in the day when Netflix first started doing streaming, you would sometimes get this buffering shit that would happen. It's the reason you would get that is because Comcast really didn't fucking like it. So Comcast was trying to like throttle traffic on the peering links and stuff. It was really fucking weird.
Yeah. When was the last time you guys thought about buffering? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
so
I remember there was like songs on albums I'd listen to in high school called "I Hate Buffering," and like it's not even really a concept that we have to deal with anymore.
Exactly. And these, it got into this pissing contest between these companies that had more money and they wanted to kill competition and all kinds of weird shit like that. Turned out Netflix was just too popular and they were winning, and Comcast wasn't going to win the bully strategy with lobbyists and get them to. Well, one of the things they wanted to do was force Netflix to pay Comcast to pass traffic onto their network, that's crazy as fuck to think about, because they're like, most of our customers want to watch Netflix on our internet connection that we sell them. Because of that, you guys need to pay us. Like, why? We have nothing to do with each other. What the fuck are you talking about? It's crazy. So it was, almost like a racket, if that makes sense. But yeah, all this was solved, outside of courts. And I just have a little bit of insight because I worked in the field at the time. So I was kind of aware of what was happening. Let's see. Everyone should Google. How do you pronounce that? Yakinder monitor. All right, I'm gonna Google it. High refresh rate. What is this, bro? Oh, this is a CS player who's like plays like an inch from the screen. Okay, I got you. I got you.
Yep.
Yeah, he pulls his monitor to his face and has it like right here.
I see a lot of the players too play with like monitor at 45 degrees, effectively touching the desk. And while I feel like that probably is comfortable, I've really resisted setting my monitor up like that because I feel like you're just giving yourself tech neck like permanently 100%. All the time if you're just gonna like sit at your desk and stare down. Like they say the top of your monitor needs to be approximately level with your eye line for your correct ergonomics, and them pro gamers are doing it wrong.
100% they're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Also going
I've been really tempted to put it down there because it feels like it'd be comfy, but nope.
No, it's not good for you. They also do the shit where they like put the game in 4:3 aspect ratio and stretch it to 16:9 or whatever it is, which is fucking crazy. Like, why are you doing that? Stop it. Oh, processor chaos. I read that as Professor Chaos first. I don't want to be like Professor Chaos. Face and monitor helps with concentration. Some players don't need it. It does not help, man. It's so what the esports guys get into the same territory as like professional athletes, where they're like, I got to touch, I have to zip and unzip my glove like 6 times and like touch the corner of my hat and like swing my bat twice before I go up and hit. Otherwise I'm going to miss. It's all bullshit. Superstitious stuff. Of course you play 4-3 stretch, Sushi. Makes the enemies fatter. Yeah, it's all processor chaos. That's all like superstition. It doesn't actually help. It's whatever you got used to. You're competing at a very high level. You don't want to change it. It's not a good idea for the casual player to, imitate or directly copy what a professional is doing. It's very weird. Like I get into this conversation sometimes with people who are like learning FPS, and professional players or very high skill players will always like advocate for wrist, wrist DPI and wrist sensitivity for FPS on the mouse over, because they're like, no, 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 dude, wrist is totally valid. And it's like, yeah, sure, if you want to do that. That's like saying playing a violin is valid. It's not even a weird, like, it's just a weird conversation to have.
Also, wrist, again, incorrect ergonomics. You're supposed to move your whole fucking arm.
Yep.
Also, you'd be a better FPS player if you moved your whole arm. You'd have a way bigger range of motion. You'd be way better if you didn't just wrist.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's science that supports that. The science is that it's easier to develop muscle memory for large muscle groups, like your shoulder all the way to your hand, than it is to develop fine digit control. So
if you turn your DPI down and you can move your hand this far instead of moving your hand this far and having your DPI really high, your level of accuracy is like 20x or something like that.
Yep.
And I just, some people don't get it. I don't know. It's like, you're literally professional. You don't understand how this stuff works.
They get too stuck in the like, this is what got me here, and so I'm gonna just die on this hill, and I will defend my choices. And
I guess if you start talking about athletes, those are the ones who plateau at minor greatness, and then there are the ones who push through, and they're the ones who analyze their shit and like try to be better, try to improve, learn new stuff. Don't be like that, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. There is science that supports if you're playing an FPS with a mouse, you want a very large play space, like a large, super big mouse pad. You want to be able to go, center of your mouse pad to the left is 180 in that direction, and then center of the mouse pad to the right is 180 in the other direction. That's what you want.
Yep.
Because then you can just develop that skill much faster.
You're pivoting at your elbow, and your wrist is staying effectively straight the entire time, and then so much more range here than here. So,
exactly.
Yep.
So I'm not saying wrist is invalid. I'm saying do it if you want to. It's going to be harder. You're going to not be as good if you're wrist high DPI. It's
just things that they have now.
What's that?
You seen the wrist skate things they have now?
Yeah, like you put that shit on there so you can slide your hand.
It's like like this thing right here. You just kind of like rest your hand on it, but it has the same material on the bottom of it that your mouse does. Mm-hmm. So your entire hand can like glide with your mouse, which I think, again, this would help with like not being a wrist person, because this wouldn't do shit if you were a wrist person. You have to use your whole arm for this to do anything. But supposedly this is kind of a thing now. And they have one that has like a strap over the top, that strapping something onto your hand to use your computer. I don't know. It's too far for me, but
I agree.
Yeah, like
take it easy, LFQ. Have good ski time and enjoy the family, man. Thank you for coming through, brother. Appreciate you. Stay safe, wear a helmet. Don't ski in some trees, bro. We need you. I love watching people play with high sense, trying to make those tiny adjustments. I've done both, man. I've done it. I'm a very competent sticks player too. Like it's way harder. So
some Call of Duty players, it feels like it'd be easier for them to just go all the way around again when they miss it. Like it's just so high sense. But
yeah, I think I probably drove off processor chaos by being like, no, dude. I'm not just talking out of my ass. I've talked to, I'm aware of this because I made AAA FPS, worked on Destiny for 5 years. Like I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about this. There was even a huge controversy about like, it's funny because it used to be like superior gamers use keyboard and mouse because you have more control over control sticks. And now, because we have games that use both and you can play keyboard and mouse versus a player with sticks, people are now saying sticks are cheating. The conversation before that was you are bad because you play on a gamepad. Now it's players that use gamepad are cheaters.
I kind of like fuck with it though, because it's like if one has aim assist and the other one doesn't, the one without aim assist is superior all day, every day, never going to change. Like you are literally handicapped, and if they took it away from you, you would be worse and you would probably get fucking dumpstered. That's where I'm at. So
I always put it this way, because I'm a competent player on sticks and keyboard and mouse. It's personal preference. That's literally all it is. If you want to sit on the couch and play on a gamepad, hell yeah. Valid gameplay experience.
If it's a game that has no aim assist and it's sticks versus mouse and keyboard, I'm with you. It's like there's no somebody's better than the other one. It's like whoever wins the game wins the game. Like I don't care. They're both valid. But as soon as one person is getting an advantage, the other one doesn't, I don't like that.
Sushi, I've seen Landmark with the glass pad and the arm sleeve. I mean, it is what it is, man. And when that shit's your job, you care about every little fucking thing. What I'm talking about is the people who are not professional players thinking I need to play this way because the pros do it. That's crazy. Don't do that. Don't fucking do that. Low sense, very large mouse pad space. You're going to get better faster than anything else. Like it's just good. Still, you should still play aim trainers and shit. It's good for you. It'll develop that coordination you need.
100%. But yeah, try to turn your DPI like all the way down, honestly, and just start playing that way for a little bit and just see how it goes.
I played for a while at like 200 to 400 DPI on the mouse, and I was undercorrecting. So I was like not able to move as much as I wanted to.
600 feels pretty good for me usually.
That's what I've been on. I'm usually between 400 and 600.
You'll see people at like 3,000-4,000 and it's like, what the hell are you doing? Like no.
You agree stick flickers lean on that aim assist? Nah, it's not like that, turning cog. It's literally just a different gameplay expression. I've always like positioned the argument as piano is superior to violin as an instrument. That's a stupid thing to say. They're completely different instruments. So gamepad is just a different instrument than keyboard and mouse. They're different human interface devices.
Play the game of like you would probably benefit more musically from learning the piano than learning the violin.
It's an arbitrary example. I'm just saying, like, it's silly to be like one's superior as
like violin completely different to almost every instrument, and piano kind of translates to almost every instrument. But I know I'm getting semantic in your argument here, but
no, you're absolutely fine in saying that. It's not, I'm not making a very good straw man here, but like that's the point. I would always just kind of say that. I'd be like, that's the conversation you're trying to have right now. You're arguing about like two different forms.
You're trying to say a band is better than another band. It's like you're the only person who thinks that.
Exactly. So. Yeah, I like 400 as well, Sushi. So this is probably going to fuck you guys up even more. I play on my desktop. I play on my laptop. I play on gamepads. And my sense for my laptop is way higher because I use a mouse pad that's this big. My sense on my desktop is way lower because I use a mouse pad that's this big. So like I do wrist aim, I do shoulder aim, I do fine digit aim with my fingers on control sticks. I do all of it. So like
I'm laughing at this because I like play on the arm of my couch sometimes and I don't change my settings, and it's like really difficult for me.
Yeah, wrist aim is really, really hard. But I've been playing games for like 30 years. So I've played with every controller scheme. The biggest thing that I ran into that I thought was a big handicap, Omni does this. If you buy a peripheral that is special, that you need to do special keybinds to, you can't fucking play that game under any other circumstance. You have to be in your home setup playing there. If you go to a LAN cafe or over to someone's house and you're trying to play games with them, you're like, oh, I got to bring my fucking orb weaver and like my chair set up.
If you change your keyboard layout to like Dvorak or something, which is something that a lot of people I don't think about when they try to do that. It's like now if you have to type your password in at the bank or something, you don't even know where the buttons are anymore, and that's going to be a problem.
It's like learning to be a competitive cup stacker. Cool. What else can you do with that though? You're just really good at stacking cups, dog. No one who doesn't care about that shit gives, no one cares. Like it's just weird. So if you're buying,
I think Omni's orb weaver is cool. I just wish he would stop sliding in Tarkov.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. Do the thing, but you're giving yourself more problems. It doesn't make any sense. There's an army of people sitting there going, how do we make this gameplay experience really good at the basic level? And this is the common peripheral that everyone has. If you have a custom peripheral with a custom keybind set up and all this other shit, no one can tell. They're like, oh, how do you crouch? I don't know. I rebound the crouch key. Why? Like, what the fuck are you doing? If you learn
another one, like you'll see people say, like, don't customize Blender, don't customize Unreal. Don't, if you're trying to learn something, especially because every time you do a tutorial, button won't be the same as it is in the tutorial. The interface isn't going to look like it does. You're not going to be able to find the thing. It's unfortunate, but I guess it's like save that stuff for when you're an expert is probably what the advice should be.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about it too much until you get into that situation.
Oh, Brightside, are you talking about how like Nick Merckx almost keeps getting caught like cheating or whatever with his aim assist shit? I also thought it was really weird that like Zim, so this Zim is a thing. This is not the nicotine pouches. It was a keyboard emulator that you could get for, or I guess it's like it's something that turns a gamepad signal. It allows you to plug in a keyboard to a console.
And it looks
people
like
are calling that cheating because it has to do some software interpolation to make that control scheme work, or that peripheral, that human interface device work.
So it gives you a keyboard with aim assist then?
Yes.
Interesting.
So a lot of like Zim users were getting banned because they were cheating.
I bet you that feels.
It was a weird thing.
Like if they're translating mouse into joystick, it cannot feel very good.
Yes, it's a gray area. It's really weird. But there are some developers who were like, if you have Zim detected, you get banned. Yo, thank you for coming back, Processor Chaos. Processor Chaos. I'm going to read what you said. I just did some work. I think we're just on a different page. I mean that for Yekindar, it helps with concentration. Same thing you said about doing what you're used to, similar to touching hat. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Top CS Pro Nico plays with low sense, simple with high sense. Yes, exactly. That's the whole point that I'm making. Don't look at what a pro is doing. Do the science thing first. Because like, if you're not a professional player, you shouldn't be copying what the pros are doing for their input devices. They're way too far down the rabbit hole of things that they think works for them, and they're not going to change anything because they got to the level they got by doing that thing. So,
a lot of them probably end up in like a weird, like they have really bad habits, but it's gotten them where they are. So, it doesn't even apply to most normal people anyway.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think we actually agree, Processor. They're very resistant to change because it's a lot about feeling. Yeah, I think we actually agree. I don't think we're on a different page. I think we're saying the same thing, and I'm totally with you on that. The reason I even brought this up is because like, as a professional in one way or another, I played competitively, like semi-pro in like Halo days and stuff. I was on some squads with sponsors as like a filler and whatnot, so that's why I say semi-pro. But I also like professionally been making video games for 15 years, and I worked at Bungie for 5, working on a AAA FPS. Like I interacted with professional gamers a lot, and I would talk to all of them. People who's like not just content creators. I'm talking like competitors who are winning tournaments and shit like that. There's very real science that supports you want low sense. And the caveat is, if you are a brand new player learning keyboard and mouse, you want low DPI, low sense, large play space.
I think you can start bumping it up as you're getting better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I remember back in the day playing so much Halo that eventually I did get to like, stick sensitivity 12 or whatever, and I was pretty competent at it, but
it was 10, yeah. I played 10 cents for a long time. The thing that made me go down was I was overcorrecting a lot. It was
and then you like learn a little bit and you go down and you're like, holy shit, I feel so dialed.
And you just like, it's almost like laser beam.
It's kind of like walking around with leg weights. Like just play a couple games, really high sense, and then just dial back to like 8 or something, and you'll feel insane. Like you have so much control.
I love that you're saying this because I used to actually tell people that when I was playing competitive Halo. I would be like, dude, I'm on the fucking, I got the weight vest on right now. I'm on sense 10. And then we would play a competitive match. I'd drop to 8, and I would not miss. No missing whatsoever.
It's also why, like, if you play high DPI on your mouse and you listen to us and you just try it out low DPI, like all of a sudden you're just going to feel so much more in control, and you might like it.
Brightside, did you see I wrote Zim? It's XIM. It was, I hope that was what you were asking about. Simple's high DPI isn't high at all compared to most people. He plays at... Yo, what's up, Shooty? Thank you for the fucking resub, brother. Okay, Simple's... so a lot of you guys, I don't follow competitive CSGO or just competitive CS that much, but I'm aware of some of these guys. So Simple's a pro player. Simple's high DPI isn't high at all compared to most people. 1200 eDPI, 400 DPI, times 3 cents in game. Yeah. So that's another thing you can do is like some math to give yourself a consistent feel, which is, it's just really weird, but you got to do like my DPI based on the modifier for the in-game cents. That's another thing. I will usually play sub 1 if there's a float value for your DPI multiplier.
Or potentially just like don't touch it and move your DPI around until it feels right.
Exactly.
That can be a little easier on your brain. So
yeah, it's the same shit.
It's just math. It's like game multiplier plus DPI is your sensitivity. So
but also like your mouse's sampling rate matters too. It gets
polling rate. Yep. Yeah.
None of us care about that. It doesn't matter. Just go low cents.
Guaranteed, a $5 mouse from the grocery store has a high enough polling rate for 99% of people. Guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
They
make mice now that poll like 160,000 times a second or something like that to like figure out how far it moved on your mouse pad.
I have a friend I was having this conversation with Omni about Sense and how to set up his shit. And one of our mutual friends is like, an ex-professional FPS player. And this person was like, I'm a wrist aimer. It's totally valid. And I was like, I'm not saying it's invalid. You can be a wrist aimer. This dude has been playing games for like a year or two. He's not, he's not a hardcore FPS player. He's just asking. So I'm giving him the advice on where to start. Of course, we got into this big conversation about it. We were arguing and I'm like, I hear you. I'm not saying your experience is invalid. I'm saying you're really good at that, but it took you a long time to get there. And this person's like, it didn't take me that long. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not attacking you. I'm giving this other person advice. So let's just focus on that. Sushi says lots of people are playing with like 4,000 EDPI. That is crazy. That's really high. It's like when I wanted to play guitar and put my guitar strap so low because I wanted to be Billy Joel Armstrong, and I went to a guitar lesson. The teacher was like, you literally are not going to be able to learn like that. You got to walk before you can run. No lie, my level 50 buddies would do that too. Yes, exactly. I have to be honest. I played with a lot of 50s. I was in that range, but I think my highest was 47 Lone Wolf and 45 Team Slayer. I mostly played solo, and that really, really hurt. So if I played with the squad more and I was grinding with the squad a lot more, I would have had my 50 for sure. And we're talking Halo 2. Wait. Thanks for noticing processor. Many don't. Oh, do they just call you professor? Yeah, and I'm assuming it's processor chaos. You just ran into the issue that South Park has a character named Professor Chaos, Butter's alter ego. So, people are just going to be like, oh, it's Professor Chaos who's back again.
Oh, hamburgers.
Oh, hamburgers. What is Duck Ope? What are you doing, Turning Cog? I also don't like the onomatopoeia Ope just because, like, it, to me, when I involuntarily go, oh, there's no P. I'm just going like, oh, and then like cutting off the rest of the syllable.
You got to be more like Midwestern to get the P in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There are tons of websites out there that do sense conversion for you game to game. Yeah, absolutely. But also, like, you don't need to get that deep, Sushi, like, I understand why people would want to, because they're like, I want to be real good, and they want a shortcut to being real good. Literally the thing that I said about low sense with a big mouse pad is the shortcut to being real good. I cannot give anyone advice on learning sticks. Sticks is very fucking hard to learn. And one of the things I notice is if I don't play a game with sticks, like a shooter with sticks for 2 months, 3 months, it's all gone. I'm starting basically from square one again.
If you don't do sticks already and you want to learn to play FPS, just don't.
Yes.
Don't play 100%. Sticks. Just start mouse and keyboard.
Yep.
You don't have bad habits. It's fine. Yep.
When you start playing sticks, you will lose it very quickly. Very, very quickly if you stop playing at all. I remember there was a period of time when I went from Halo to PC gaming a bunch, and then I picked up Titanfall, I think it was, or Reach, maybe. There was a big gap when I wasn't playing on sticks, and I felt like I was just starting over entirely, and it was incredibly frustrating. So the science behind that is the neuron connections to control your fingers in that way, they're really difficult to maintain. So that's why I was saying violin, because violin is fine digit control. There's no frets on a violin. You're being very specific about where you're placing your fingers, often doing it really quickly, alternating the amount of pressure you're putting on each string. Whereas a piano, the pressure does still matter. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong here. You are doing fine digit control because you need to press things very rapidly, but it's a different level. It might be better to say drums, playing the drums versus playing the violin. That's probably the better way to say it. And then arguing about which instrument is superior is stupid. Like one's percussive, one's a string. It's stupid. I never realized that our mouse position is on a vent tick. What do you mean? There are tons of websites. Yep, read that one. I just want what I'm used to. It takes like 30 seconds to Google a site and put in the parameters so I can match my CS sense. Yeah, so Sushi, my laziness is that I'm not going to fuck with that. I'm just going to adapt to the game I'm playing. I'll do a little bit of adjustment, but I'm not the type of person who goes, oh no, my settings got blown away because I reinstalled. I can't play this game anymore. Why would I do that to myself? That's crazy.
You've never even touched your Tarkov settings, have you?
No, I turned on like the polychrome and stuff like that, but I'm full default controls.
You should do the graphic settings. I think they help.
I changed it to yours, the ones that you had last. So
okay, yeah. That's good. Yeah, that helps a lot.
God damn it, Omni. You know the time we stream. It hasn't changed in years. He said, late to the party. I was DMing Tony and then realized, oh shit, they're live. Sorry for that. But what's up, homies? What's up, bro? I was telling a story about how we got into a conversation about human interface devices, like keyboard and mouse versus like gamepad and all that. And I said, don't do the thing Omni does where you have an orb weaver and it takes like, you have to like custom configure every fucking game because you're just creating more problems for yourself.
Brett says, you're saying some of the mice have more sensitivity or something. It got me thinking about how often our computer refreshes our mouse position. It's constantly fetching that data, right? Yeah, I think like we're getting into
it's real
stuff.
deep.
I think that's happening like on the BIOS. Like that's not even in Windows at the level that it's happening. It's like the BIOS passing the information into Windows, but like the polling rate is like happening as close to the metal, as they say, as humanly possible. In that it's like just raw signal, and then every single layer down, like BIOS, operating system, and then if you're talking about like an application running in it like a game, you know, I'm sure you're losing a little bit of data as it has to like go through the pipes. But yeah.
Okay, don't get me wrong, guys. I have been a control scheme editor. I've done it before. When I played WoW, I used completely custom keybinds. I did. So the WoW abilities are 1 through equals, I think. It's either 1 through equals or 1 through 0. I rebound all of my hotbars, all 4 of my hotbars. It was QERF, ZXCV, control QERF, and that was 1 through equals, right? To change hotbars, it was shift QERF. So I had 4 different hotbars that I could do, and that's just how I did it. And I will tell you. What's that?
No, go ahead.
I will tell you, anytime I went to go play somewhere else, it fucking sucked. And the only reason I know this is because I played WoW in many different locations and had to change all my keybinds again. And I literally couldn't play the fucking game because I had custom keybinds for everything. So I haven't memorized because I did it for years. And I would have to like redo all my keybinds.
So if you look at your keyboard too, what a lot of pros do now, instead of using WASD, is they use ESDF, which shifts everything over one key and gives you more.
It gives you
on the left side of your hand for stuff.
QAZ.
Yeah, QAZ for like hotkeys or whatever. So a lot of people will like just shift WASD over to the right one key so that they have more room on the left side of their hand. And that's another way that some people play. There's a couple of like really weird ones, but yeah.
Oh, I got to throw this out there. Artificial Sky said trackball supremacy. No bullshit, guys. This man played FPS with a trackball. Not
still does, I believe.
The big fucking twirly boy trackball, the thing that's like a billiard ball. He plays FPS on that shit.
Like I said,
crazy.
Right under that entirely valid chat, even.
Oh, he's an ESDF gang, dude. Oh shit, let's go.
Yeah, see, Shooted is a
thumb trackball.
more dialed FPS player than almost anybody. Thumb trackball and ESDF, like that's Chad as fuck. Oh my god.
Omni, like live your life, bro. Do your orb weaver. I'm not like trying to clown you for doing that. I'm just saying that you're newer to this stuff. So my first advice is don't fucking use an orb weaver. Like you're gonna get yourself stuck in this one method of like, oh my god, I'm playing a new game now. I have to completely redo all my keybinds and shit. It behooves you to be more flexible with your control scheme stuff. I understand the whole fantasy of like, you got like a thing here and it's cool. You're in like your command chair. It's fun. I get that. Totally cool. Especially if you're playing like a sim, like a space sim or something, or like flying jets and shit. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. If you want to get good at FPS, just stick to WASD, keyboard and mouse. You'll be fine.
Again, make adjustments once you're a pro. That's when you can start making those decisions.
Yep. Exactly. We were talking about polling rates on mice. Yeah, trackball is valid as well. Like literally whatever you guys want to play with is totally fine. It's just the barrier to entry is higher or lower, there's physiology involved. Game ball makes a pretty nice trackball. The fuck is a game ball, dude? But okay, so here's the other thing. Omni likes gadgets. He likes fucking around with like interesting electronics and stuff. So I think all of that stuff is like, crashing into each other. The goal of becoming a better FPS player versus like using an input device that he really likes. Those are in conflict. So specifically, that's advice I would say for Omni. Artificial Sky is fine. He's been doing it for a long time, so he's a trackball.
I wonder if you could like translate everything we've been talking to into like making a trackball that's like the size of a bowling ball, and then you would just have like such insane accuracy as you're moving it around.
What if hold on? What if you sat on it and then you like used your butt to aim?
Okay, yeah. There might be a VR idea in here somewhere.
Yeah, you could probably get some like really good core exercises out of it.
Yeah,
you could do like a core trainer where you're like sliding your butt around on this fucking trackball.
We could make like an arcade where you put the people on the giant ball with the VR headset on and they just play monkey ball.
Yeah, exactly.
They are the monkey.
Also for WoW, keep a thumb drive with your interface folder on it for mods.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. No, dude, that's too much. What if you sat on it, Tony 2026? I mean, he did say that.
Vince said that, not me, but sure.
Yeah, no, that's true. I did. You can clip it, Brightside. Also for WoW, keep a thumb drive. Nope, read that. So the Orb Weaver, I learned to use a version of from Logitech when I was in high school, so I was completely foreign to even try WASD, and the fact it's not ergonomic, it's almost painful. Omni, my argument here is every game you play is foreign. It's just weird. So you're starting fresh. Start with WASD and a mouse. This is how easily history can get changed. He just quoted Tony, and it was actually me that said it.
And Brightside's on like his government conspiracy.
Yeah, he is.
That was fucking crazy.
He's crashing the fuck out, bro. Brightside, it's gonna be okay, man. I'm here for you. It's gonna be okay.
Hey, if you get on the stream today, maybe we need to just get in the bus and hash it out a little bit. So I'll come through.
Exactly, bro. Yeah. When are you going live today, Brightside? Bro, it's not even a conspiracy anymore. I know, man. We can talk about it. Like, when are you going live? We'll come through and we'll chat with you. We'll
yeah, we can't talk about the Epstein files on our stream, but we can talk about it on yours. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Omni, like I say this from the goal of trying to help you. That's it. I don't give a fuck like what you do aside from that. I like to have my friends not self-harm. You are self-harming by saying the Orb Weaver makes the most sense to me. You're already learning a brand new game and you're learning how to do it on the Orb Weaver. Just learn it with WASD. Learn it with that and learn it with a mouse and you'll be okay. The moon is cheese. Yeah, dude. Wait, what kind of cheese do you think the moon is? It's probably like a brie, right? It's got the white crust on the outside.
I don't know. It looks crumbly like cotija or something to me.
Yeah, I guess it could be.
Or like a blue cheese, maybe.
Or just like titanium oxide cheese, because that's what makes the moon white.
Titanium oxide?
Yeah.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
You know that.
Moon dust is titanium oxide, I think. Let me make sure.
Dude, the muzzle velocity on these bullets in Lyra has got to be like slower than an airsoft gun.
All right. Moon rock is ilmenite basalt, also known as titanium iron oxide. My bad. I was almost there.
Missing an entire fucking element.
Yeah, my bad. There's iron in there. It's a titanium iron molecule that's oxidized. So that's why it turns white. Titanium, when it oxidizes, turns white. Or that rainbow color if it's like the pure titanium that you get in exhaust.
Well, they could get a lot of titanium out of the moon?
Yes. Yes.
And
titanium,
iron. Actually.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
I'm a moon chill. Vince is a moon.
Are you
chill.
anti-moon then? If Vince is a moon chill, like
yeah, dude. Why are
the moon? Reggiano.
I like that Parmigiano Reggiano, bro.
Reggiano.
Parmigiano. That's what it is. That's what he wrote. No, you're good, Artificial Sky. Don't worry about it. I like Parmigiano Reggiano.
That'll go nice on that Mars marinara. You know.
Hell yeah, brother. The moon is cheese. Yeah, why are you anti-moon, dude? You're an anti-moonite? All right, I guess. Brightside, how do you feel about the moon being tidally locked and the orbit increasing over time so that the moon is actually going away from us? How does that make you feel?
You're totally fine. Whether we actually landed on the moon in the 60s or not. Let's hear that too.
Yeah, Brightside doesn't believe in the moon landing. Fake news. Shit. Right. Oh shit, dude.
I joked one time that I thought the moon landing could have been faked, and one of my coworkers at the time got really fucking mad at me.
Just crashed the fuck out.
He's like, I take this very seriously, and I'm like, I'm not even saying I think it's true. I'm just saying that because of like the Cold War at the time, I could maybe see the incentive for them to do it. That's all that I'm saying. Like, he's so fucking mad. Nothing I could say would make him not mad. Just like, sorry, dude. Jeez.
I mean, I've definitely gotten mad about fake moon landing shit.
Yeah.
But I do think it's, it's funny. It's like birds aren't real is funny to me too.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's more like I can play the game of like, I could see why they'd do it, why people would think they would do it.
Absolutely.
Like, I still think they did it, but I could definitely see the incentive to lie about it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I still think one of the craziest things about space travel is what's it called? It's some kind of euphoria that you experience. Like all human beings experience this when they get into orbit around the Earth and they leave the surface.
You look back at the whole planet. Yeah.
They're overcome by like the overview effect. That's it. Okay, so AI description. Overview effect is a phenomenon where astronauts experience a sense of interconnectedness with the universe. So imagine a spiritual experience simply by going to space. And this isn't like, oh, I went to the Grand Canyon and I saw God. This is like every single human being that goes to space is like
why would we possibly be like trying to kill each other and like fighting?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
They're like everything is connected. They have a religious experience.
They feel that way. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. It's very carefully controlled information, but didn't they even touch on it in The Expanse? I feel like I saw some sci-fi where they were like, hey, watch out for the euphoria. Maybe it was
I think it's more like the idea in The Expanse is just like as soon as we got off Earth, like all of the inter-country squabbling on Earth kind of like stopped because all of a sudden
a lot of people
Earth was like the new country and Mars was like the new like not like us thing, and it like brought the whole planet together in a weird way. That's kind of the explanation in The Expanse, at least. But
yeah, it's controlled information, Artificial Sky. And it's I think it's really interesting. There's also like a lot of accounts of during overview effect euphoria, there's like auditory and visual hallucination.
Could also be because of the fact that they're not being shielded by space radiation from the atmosphere anymore, but you know.
Exactly. Well, they are, but you know, there's shit that we don't know. You're out, you're still in the magnetosphere, but
There's
yeah, you're
definitely
not. You're in the
subatomic particles
very
that
edge of the
you would
fucking
never
atmosphere.
experience on the planet that you're going to run into up there for sure. Yeah.
I mean, we used to think that life couldn't exist in the vacuum of space, and now there's plenty of information showing that there are bacterial microbes that grow on the outside of the ISS. They just live in the fucking vacuum, and they're like, wait,
tardigrades don't
what?
give a shit about vacuum.
No.
Tardigrades are fine. Yeah.
But those are more complex organisms than bacterium. So like,
yeah,
that's the weird thing. They were like, very, very simple single-celled life cannot exist in the vacuum. That's not fucking true. There's now an idea that space is actually full of stuff. There's just shit everywhere in space. It's not pure void vacuum. There's like, you know, particles just floating around everywhere, and it's not radiation particles. It's like organic stuff, which is kind of crazy to think about. They're getting high, literally. Yes, spacemen do be doing that. New NASA ad line. Hey, want to get high? It does bother me that not a lot of people like that. There's like a very strong movement that's anti-space exploration. That I think is fucking absurd. It's completely crazy to me. I don't know if
we're going to ship all that money to Mars when they could be spending it on schools here.
Yeah, you know they're not going to spend it on schools here. They're going to spend it on fucking oil and other shit. Social media.
People just think like we're like taking Fort Knox and putting it in a rocket ship and sending it to Mars. Where they can use it to buy things at all the stores that they have on Mars, and you know the economy that exists, and
or like billionaire vacation fantasy to go to another planet. That's not what it is, guys. It's not fucking what it is. It's fundamental to the survival of our species to not be stuck on Earth, you know. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't like poop sushi, but yes, there's organic materials just floating around in space, dude. I'm thinking of what else. Like, there's also the other theory that the basic building blocks of life that exist on Earth came from, you know, impacts from space.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys have followed, but the first time we observed interstellar objects was very fucking recently. And what that means is we thought our solar system was like pretty captive and nothing moved into our solar system or out of it. And that's just the way it is. And in the past, like 5 years, we've documented 3 interstellar objects that are approaching on vectors that are not captured by our star. And then they exit the solar system. And we're like, wait, what the fuck are these things? If you guys have heard of Oumuamua, which means the traveler, that was one of them. I mean, it's not a conspiracy. It's just real. There was actually a thing
that like float around the universe and like aren't in
centaurs
in a galaxy and could just like drift into ours and like collide with one of our planets and destroy everything. Very scary. And just the idea of like a planet with no light floating around in space like a ghost ship is, I don't know, crazy.
Well, we have Jupiter, which is great. Jupiter keeps us safe.
Yes.
Jupiter just be eating all kinds of nasty stuff that doesn't get to the inner rocky planets, which is amazing. We have Jupiter and Saturn both do that. What do you mean, Ope? What's the conspiracy, Turning Cog? What do you think I'm about to say about interstellar objects? They're actually spaceships. They were alien spaceships, dude. It's not an asteroid. I mean, if you look at the vectors they moved on, it's hard to explain. It's very hard to explain with Newtonian physics. But, you know, that's how we got to space. So what the fuck is it? I don't know. I have no idea. Why are you guys pooping pants? Don't poop in your pants. We have toilets. You guys are adults.
Well, on that note, do you want to raid sushi?
Yes, let's raid sushi. You guys can continue the conversation over there.
Go poop your pants in the sushi stream.
Yeah, he likes that. You can talk about poop over there. I'm a baby. Wow. Oh God, sushi. Don't. Don't, dude. Yeah, I think that's it for us today. Guys, we will catch you tomorrow. We ran a little long today, but it's been fun. Somebody's been coming into my chat since the beginning of January and saying poop pants every day. By somebody, do you mean turning cog or sushi fu?
Yeah, who is it? Name
Yeah,
names.
who is you? Malcolm, dude. At a random point every day, he just comes in and says "poop emoji, pants emoji?" question mark and leaves. It's not turning cog this time. Oh shit.
We should all go to Boom and do that probably.
Well, we're gonna go to sushi.
But while we're eating sushi, everybody go poop pants at Boom too.
Yeah, exactly. Sushi Fu streaming art. This man's making an art, guys. Oh, I see Turning Cog's already in there. He's just chatting in all these channels. All right, I hit the start raid.
Guys, we could just like get on a Discord call together and be the same thing that we fucking do on Twitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's live. Everybody's in each other's chats. Like, it's funny.
We could like turbo stream or whatever it is, co-op stream with people. But that's I don't know. That almost feels bad because like we don't stream nearly as much as you other guys do. So
if you guys ever want to do something like that though, like, we'd be open-minded to it. Hit us up.
Yeah, for sure. All right, y'all. Get on over there, drop some trees. Sushi already knows we're coming. So yeah, continue the conversation about moon cheese and pooping pants and overview effect and all that in there. Have a good one. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Peace.